And welcome to the June 29th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate equitably. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank our staff, Jen, Alyssa, Josh, Mark, Amy, and Kristen for their diligence providing applicants and this commission with the necessary tools to achieve a positive result with their projects. And we're missing two commissioners, actually three. So, Pat, you're the appointed alternate for your final farewell. And if you'll allow me to remind you, commenting, call on each of you at the appropriate time so we can refrain from speaking over each other. Also, all votes be done by roll call. So when I call your name, please state your name and your vote, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Also, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. Therefore, if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination as it allows you to move forward with your project without the necessity of a full notice of intent application. And for the benefit of anyone waiting tonight for a particular hearing, but so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. 409 West Falmouth Highway, 267 Clinton Avenue, 15 Rock Street, Lot 7 Ryder Road, and 57 Shorewood Drive. So with all that out of the way, first item, vote minutes, June 8, 2022. Anyone?
I move that we accept the minutes as written, subject to any changes made this evening.
Pat, second.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of 6/8. Thank you, Kristen. Next up, vote minutes, June 15, 2022.
I move that we accept the minutes as written, subject to any changes made this evening.
Walsh,
Pat and second.
All right, there's a little competition going on there. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes as submitted. Thank you again, Kristen. All right, next up are a few requests for a continuance under a notice of intent. First up, Paul Gallagher, Lot 7, Ryder Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a single-family dwelling on a wooded lot. Jen or Alyssa?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting continuance until July 13th.
Make a motion to allow the continuance until July 13th.
Walsh, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until July 13. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until July 13th. Thank you. Next up, Walter Marione, 409 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconfigure and replace the front yard landscaping, add a patio and hardscape, install mitigation plantings, and restore an area of unpermitted clearing. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until July 13th.
At the request of the applicant, I would ask for a continuance until July 13th.
Walsh, second.
Excellent. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till July 13. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Excuse me, Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until July 13th. Before we continue, Jen, I'm sure you're not going to bury us on the 13th, right?
They're all going to 13th, Mr. Chairman, but we've figured that out. You only have one notice that night and one amended, which should be fairly easy. So
I figured I had to throw it in there.
I know you did. It's okay.
All right. Next up, 267 Clinton Ave, LLC, 267 Clinton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install and maintain an on-site Title V septic system upgrade, leaching field bed and dewatering control system. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a continuance until July 13th.
The request of the applicant, I motion that we continue this until July 13th.
Walsh, second.
Sense a theme. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till July 13th. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 7:13. Next up, Barbara Good Toohey, trustee, 15 Rock Street, nominee trust, 15 Rock Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition and to replace existing pavement with lawn and gravel pave. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, July 13th.
The request of the applicant, I would make a motion to continue this until July 13th.
Walsh, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 7:13. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 7:13. Next up, requests for determination of applicability. First up, Christopher Ident, 129 Jericho Path, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a 2-story addition. Ms. Bergeron?
Yes, thank you. Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Anyone?
I
I'd
move
make a
that we
motion.
accept- Go ahead. We're too polite. I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
And second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Chadlin Ostrander, 59 Town Hall Square, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to deploy and moor a scientific pontoon in Sitters Pond. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Patton, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, just a brief announcement on that one. It's too late in the season for them to deploy their equipment this year, so they are planning to do it next year. But we did have them go through the process this year just so their permit was in place.
Okay. How long is that good for? You already,
3 years.
okay. All right. Fair enough. Next up, Thomas S. Crane, Charles M. Crane, and Josephine F. DeGive, 37 Hinckley Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to replace 2 existing cesspools with the installation of a denitrifying sewage disposal system. Kudos to them. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Shorewood Drive LLC, 145 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove a portion of the existing stoop and dwelling, to construct an addition, to relocate the existing septic tank, to install a dry well, and to install mitigation plantings. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
We have sorry. Thought I interrupted someone. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Harvey P. Stein, 57 Moonpenny Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing timber deck and steps in the same footprint. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
Melissa, haven't we heard this one before?
Yes, it was formerly a notice of intent, but they withdrew that as the only work they're doing now are just reconstructing the deck.
Thank you. Thought it looked
You're welcome.
familiar. Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, eTraveler LLC, 64 Pine Grove Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a basketball court. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Thomas Severo, 87 Tourett Road, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove an existing propane tank and to install a new propane tank and generator. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Gansett Sunset LLC, 102 Gansett Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct 2 dormers and to replace windows, roofing, and siding. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Matthew R. Osborne, 111 Jericho Path, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove an existing rent station, rebuild and enlarge the existing back porch, to construct an addition and a front porch, to renovate the existing garage, and to install dry wells. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, continued requests for determination of applicability. Benjamin Carroll, 357 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to renovate the existing guest house. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and a -3 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
I move that we accept staff's recommendation.
Walsh, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you for all that. Next up, request for a hearing under notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. And as a reminder, commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, David and Kathleen Bryson, 502 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a garage, an addition, a patio, and a deck, to enlarge the gravel driveway, to remove the west wing of the house, 3 landings, and part of the existing patio. Also to remove non-native vegetation and to install mitigation and restoration plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Tom Bunker and Bernice Waller up to present their project.
Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
Yes, thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We did the survey for this project, and Bernice Waller's firm, Bernice Waller Landscape Architecture, did the design work for the planting and the landscape. So if I may, I will start right in and share my screen and show you a few things before I hand it over to Bernice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, what are we looking at? Okay, there. This is just a shot from the town GIS to show the property highlighted in yellow. This is at 502 West Falmouth Highway. In the bottom of the picture, there is a somewhat tidal salt marsh area. Of course, it has a bordering vegetated wetland along all sides. Just so you understand, this is the area along West Falmouth Highway. The bike path is just off to the left out of the picture here. This is where you can see the bike path across the pond, just north of Brickhill Road. And the project is on this property right here. The existing house and a cottage guest house on the back of the property. Our survey shows we had the wetland delineated by LEC, flagged a wetland down in this location. So on the photo, topography, there's a coastal bank over a lot of the, well, across the entire width there, and some bank goes higher than others. But this is, we identified this here along the, this line type here with the triangles as the top of the coastal bank. And this coastal bank has a wetland at its base. So therefore it has a 50-foot zone A, which is shown here, highlighted this line in red, 50-foot zone A. By the way, the BVW has a 50-foot zone A in this location, and then a 100-foot zone B, which just stays off of the property. And then the zone A and then the coastal bank zone B comes about halfway onto the property and two-thirds of the way across this house. The entire lot is within flood zone AE elevation 16 as the highest contour on the property gets up around only elevation 14 out by West Falmouth Highway. So this is, aside from the houses, a driveway. There are the two structures here, lawn and garden. Including there's a large area of large overgrown yew bushes here. Of course, the ever-present English ivy and some other plants, some native, some not, in this area here. I didn't do a full inventory. The idea is to take out this area of non-native plants that I've colored green, and also this Norway maple tree, which is in very poor shape. Take that out, and then there's another cedar tree here that will come out, I think, for the driveway. And yeah, so that cedar tree is right in the edge of the driveway. Actually, they're proposing a hedge in this location. So this deck area is to be added. It's not all increased because there's an existing stairs beneath it already in some of that area. And this garage addition and house is partly within the zone B. And so that and the deck require mitigation. I have the numbers. There's no expansion in any zone A. The house, this area back here is 159 square feet, and the deck and the grill pad here 294, totaling 453 square feet. And that requires 906 square feet of mitigation planting. An amount of non-native shrubs. The yews, some of the yew is being removed in zone A, others in zone B, including a crabapple tree that's right here, and other English ivy. So it's 938 square feet. So we're a little more mitigation than required. 904 square feet of restoration planting. The mitigation is in zone A. There's some restoration here and other mitigation on this location and more restoration planting over here, in addition to a eastern red cedar, a tupelo tree, dogwood tree. None of the driveways within zone A or B. So this is the number, the numerical part of the presentation. So I think Bernice can explain some of the planting and has better pictures than I do. So I will stop my share and hand it over to Bernice.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Sorry. There we go. For the mitigation planting, so we're divided into two areas. Tom mentioned 928 square feet worth of mitigation planting for this project, which we're proposing to have within that area 8 Jersey tea, 6 spice bush, 22 Carolina rose, and 4 American cranberry bush viburnum. We also have the 904 square feet of restoration planting, which is also comprised of the Jersey tea, the spice bush, and the Carolina rose, in combination with 3 different types of trees, the flowering dogwood, 1 6 to 8 foot high eastern red cedar, and 1 1.5 to 2 inch caliper Nyssa with black tupelo, which we did size at that size because that's really what's available in the nursery for us to get, because those trees are typically container grown because they do not transplant by root or ball. By root ball, and that's typically what we have the most success with. We did size the plants to a spacing that is optimum for their ultimate growth habit, and are happy to hear your comments.
All right. Bernice, you can stop sharing if you're all set,
Thank you.
please. Jen?
Yes, I think Alyssa and I's concerns mostly were with the planting plan, not so much for the restoration, but for the mitigation, because this board, likes a really tight mitigation area. I understand the spacing requirements for spice bush, but why choose Jersey tea? Just out of curiosity. Well, it's a nice plant, and it does support like 20 species of birds and small mammals, and it's a good source of food for deer and turkey and quail, and it's a great grower for us. It's drought resistant as well, so we've had a lot of success with it, and that's some of the reasons we put it in there. And you don't have a problem with people mowing it because it's only like tiny? It's not something that someone would be inclined to mow. Okay. No. Next time, Bernice, can you just so we understand more of what's going on with the plans, and I understand you talked to Alyssa today, just clearly mark out what's restoration and what's mitigation, and then give us the different counts for both of them. And I don't know if there's a way, I mean, the hash marking on your plan was just a tad bit confusing for us. It was really hard to read. So just maybe clarifying that next time would be more, it would really help us understand the plan a little bit better.
Okay.
Alyssa, do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
So that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Tom, if you mentioned this, I apologize. The septic system, will that have to be relocated?
No,
Tank
there,
specifically?
well, it was actually just upgraded 5 years ago, maybe. Are you referring to a hedge going on top of it? There's some
No,
grading
it's the
going on.
proximity to the addition.
Not for the addition, no. It's more than 20 feet away from the addition. There is some fill going over it. The grade is being raised a little bit over it, and that will leave enough vertical room for the hedge to grow over it. But it's far enough away from the addition.
Okay, then I don't know if I'm looking at the right plan, because it looks to me like the tank is right on the corner of that.
The tank. The tank.
Yeah.
Yes, we will have to move the tank. You're right. That got right by us. We'll have to move the tank. Yeah. But not the leaching.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No, you got
All
that.
right. Thank you. Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Pat,
No questions, thank you.
Peter.
No questions. Thank you.
Wow. Steve.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Jen, how are we, can we just accept the modified plan?
If all Tom has to do is move the tank, then we can condition that, or he can submit a plan with that tank removed. That's fine.
I'll submit a new plan with it.
Okay, that's fine.
No.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm asking is we don't need to hold it up for that.
God, no. That's easy. Well, if Tom doesn't get it to us before we write the order, then we'll just condition that we need the new plan.
No, I should get it. I'll try to get it next week.
That's fine.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
All righty.
I move that we close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Walsh, second.
All right. If there's no further questions or comments, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Pat.
Harris, aye.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Bernice.
Thank you, Bernice. Tom, are you staying on for the next one?
Yes, I am.
That's what I figured. I didn't see Jeff, so I figured it was you.
It's just me now.
That's okay. Next up, Luciano and Deborah Sense, 353 Edgewater Drive West, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct a seawall.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Bunker is still here, ready to present his second project.
All right, Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design. Prepared this plan. I'll say that just in about Jeff, he is about 3/4 retired.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Good for him.
So, yeah, he comes in and checks and does some engineering, but I'm doing more of this stuff now. So anyway, if I
So
may.
Tom Bunker is now working 1 1/4 times.
Yeah, that's
Well, we just hope Jeff enjoys his retirement.
Yeah.
We do.
yeah. He just dropped in today. He looked happier.
Good.
Good for him.
So I will regale you first with, just so you can get a chuckle out of it here, the 1975 town topo.
That is a good one.
I just had to put this in here, but
That looks like it was hand drawn.
Yeah, that back in the day, there's hand drawing.
Tom, you didn't color it for me this time.
I know.
Or number it or sign it for me or anything. Frame it with a little silver bow.
No, I don't have the energy left to put that into it. But I do have, as I look, I got the aerial photo also, but you can see this line type here does designate a seawall. This line with the V notches in it. So that is there in 1975. And the aerial for 1975. Open up. That's why I use the town topo. It's a little easier to see than the 1975 photo is kind of blurry. But I will I'll put this one up here so it's a little easier to see. So we do have this site at 353 Edgewater Drive West. And there is, through here, this stone seawall, which has been armoring this point for, what is it, 75 till now? Almost 50 years. Actually, I think in some of the documents, I think it is more than 50 years. This is Eel Pond on this location. The site, Eel Pond itself, is in flood zone. It's a velocity flood zone elevation 14. And I will show you our plan. And then inland through the house and all, it's in the flood zone AE elevation 12. And let's see. That plan, it doesn't have all my pretty color on it. Hold on a second. A little bit more. Anyway, here's the Eel Pond colored in. There's some marsh along this side, an area where there's no marsh. And you can see in the old photographs, it's been like that way for a long time. And then some more salt marsh as it goes over to this is one of the association right-of-ways down to a little sandy beach in the marsh. So it has, there is some failure of the wall. You see mainly here, there's just kind of a jumble of stones. This part particularly, which is going down toward the south end, is quite bad. And then it comes up to the point of land, which is approaching the neighbor's property right up here. So if you'll note this little sandy area shown on our plan that's on the neighbor's property. So the proposal is to replace this rock wall with the vinyl sheet piling. And I'll show you starting in there, there was what's called a fault in the riprap. So there's a kind of that failure of the stone on one of the pictures right here is where the sheet piling would start in that edge there and then run along. And here we have steps going down, which would replace the existing steps going down that are quite a hazard to get down there. There's a railing to hang on to, and that's probably not quite enough. And there was a question, this, what we call the launch pad, is not projecting beyond the proposed sheet piling wall. Show that. this section of the wall here is just looking along it, and then the steps come down, and then this launch pad is, within it. I think it's 4 feet deep, set back from the main line of the seawall. And the plan view of it is up here, again, with the seawall running this way and the Eel Pond coming up to here, and then the steps, the heavier lines are the steps, and then that 4 foot wide, 4 foot deep, so-called launch pad for kayaks and canoes, whatever, going out through there. And so that will go in here roughly where that the pathway goes in to the stairs now. Obviously, some of this mitigation planting will be disturbed. It will all be put back in kind. And the wall will come and wrap around and end up in this location. The intent is to, as labeled in a couple places and shown on this section, it's to have the face of this wall at least 1 foot back from the toe of where the stones are now. Toe of where the stones, we had located it back in, I think, 2013. It was a little bit easier to find a line before the stones got so jumbled, but it will be landward of that. The intent is to dig out a trench behind it, behind the stones, and then move the stones to the back, and then backfill over them. And so take a little bit of exception saying that this buried rocks should be considered coverage. If there are buried natural rocks, it would not be considered coverage. And I believe that, and I know that there will be enough cover over that to support certainly native grass growth and also shrub growth, because obviously soil will go down between the rocks where the roots can reach into it to grow. So that's the work there. Putting in the sheet piling, as I said, it's moving landward, no less than a foot landward than the existing rock wall is, and putting in these stairs where the stairs are now, and making a little safer, better little launch area here, which will just be a few inches below the high water line. So every tide, that bottom landing area will be flooded, and then the water will go out again. So that's the project. I made that one comment about I'm not sure why the buried rocks would be considered coverage. If it is considered coverage, then we would like to ask if we can put some of the stones at the surface. If it's going to be coverage anyway, to so there'd be little areas to walk along the backside of the wall. Also, there was a comment about there is a boat out here now, and there's an outhaul tied to the rock, to the stone, but he does have an outhaul, a mooring just out offshore here. And an outhaul approved by the harbor master. I have that information. I can send it over to you. So that is what we're proposing. I'll stop sharing now and take your questions.
Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tom, I would like to see the outhaul information from the harbor master. Do you know off the top of your head when Greg issued that, or was it issued by Greg?
Well, I have it right here. I can, let me.
Yeah, please pull that up if you have it.
Yeah. Have to get on share again. Second. Okay, so I have this here. It's, well, that's the bill for it. The let me see.
That's the mooring.
Well, that's the mooring, okay.
Where's the outhaul?
I guess I was, you
Mhm.
sent me the information on a mooring.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess a mooring, not an.
Greg doesn't issue outhauls.
Mhm.
The outhaul, unless Greg has issued an outhaul permit, the outhaul has to go,
Okay.
as well as the little makeshift dock they put in.
Mhm. Yeah, there is well, if you saw it out there, and we actually didn't show it on the plane because it's kind of underwater, but there is a slab of concrete there that, was kind of not a dock, but it was a
Launch pad.
launch pad, but that's being moved. They said that's being moved inland now. So
You stop sharing the mooring bill.
yeah, right. Okay.
It's not helping you, Tom. It's really not helping you. So, couple of things. It took us a little while to figure out what this launch pad was,
Mhm.
what you're actually launching. And it's not kayaks, it's not canoes, it's that Zodiac.
I don't know if that will fit in there, but
It's 4 feet wide. I'm glad to know we actually, after we studied your plan, that you are pulling that back. And I'm assuming you're pulling the stairs back too from the pictures I saw from Alyssa too, to give you that 4 feet. So you're almost like excavating out, creating that staircase down, bringing that around, and then doing that little coverage.
Yeah, the whole thing is 10 feet landward of the face of the seawall.
The reason Alyssa said that the rock should be still considered as coverage is because you're still keeping on site, you're just burying them, and then you're trying to get 300 decrease of coverage when you're actually adding all this little concrete into the property behind the wall, Tom. So that was my call, and that was just a
Which
counter your creative argument with my own creative argument.
No, I was wondering which concrete are you talking about?
I'm talking about the new launch pad.
Well, that's
because you're bringing that in behind the wall. You're creating that impervious surface, correct?
That is
or structure there, right?
I believe that's counted. There's on my plan, the proposed sheet pile, seawall, stairs, and launch pad cover 220 square feet.
Okay, so where are you getting the decrease? You're counting your rock wall?
Well, the rock wall right now is coverage, yes. So
I don't really think we've ever counted revetments as coverage.
Okay.
So that's where I was countering that with my own kind of creative argument that we don't really, I've never seen us count a revetment as coverage, especially when you're putting the sheet piling and, kind of where it is. I'm glad to know that you're putting the sheet piling a foot back from the toe of that existing one. And I actually do think creating that kind of slope and then dumping the rocks in is not a bad idea. I was just countering your argument. That's all.
So where do we stand? Can we call it a wash? I mean, there is coverage from this work
to the board, but I've never seen us doing the calcs when we're taking a seawall out and we're putting the sheet piling in. That's all. I think that that platform absolutely does have to go, Tom, as does the outhaul, unless they can prove that Greg has issued an outhaul for them, which I really, every time Greg is presented with that concept, he checks with us. So I'd be really surprised if he issued one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a historic one, but I don't think one has been recently issued. So unless you can provide me some information on that little system does need to go. As does the little dock. So, and I think the only other big thing that Alyssa noticed on the plan, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, there's an area of mitigation that seems to be missing. There's a gap.
There was, and that was, well, there is one, we have a note. One of my guys wrote down, I don't think it covers the whole thing, but there's a note, future mitigation under existing RDA. That's further back, but certainly anything you put it in a condition, anything that's been previously proved and required as mitigation will be planted.
Mr. Chairman, can I share my screen just real quick? Just so
Yes, ma'am.
Alyssa confirm that this is the area. Alyssa, can you confirm that this is the area you're talking about?
Yes, and that's located in those two large areas of previously planted mitigation on the plan. That is the middle of the northernmost area, not the ones formerly required under the RDA that have yet to be planted.
Okay, through where? Okay, now I see. Looking at the sassafras clusters.
Yeah, so that'll have to be conditioned. We'll condition
Yeah.
that to be replanted, as well as the mitigation under the RDA.
Yeah.
Condition that the outhaul needs to be removed. They cannot store the boat on the launch pad. This is not a dock, Tom. This is, you're basically proposing this as an easy way for them to get into the water, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm struggling with this one here, but okay. But it is nice to know that it's going to be in line with the thing, because it almost, the way you have it described, I just don't want it to appear as like a boat ramp. How wide is that staircase, Tom?
It is 6 feet wide.
6 feet wide?
So the term stair pad, I'm sorry, pad, launch pad is really kind of a misnomer in this case, no?
Yeah, because it's a staircase, and then just kind of it's like just deck boards, right, Tom?
Yes.
The way you have it on your stairway launch pad plan view, but then it's going to go, the water's going to be over it?
At high tide, the water will be
Sometimes.
over it.
Yeah.
How long is that composite decking going to last in a tidal cycle like that?
Well, I don't know. This is how it was started between Jeff and Lush, and we have it like this. I looked at it with Jeff, and he said that's. I don't know about that composite decking. You'll have to just. I don't know if you have to get an RDA to replace it once in a while. But, it is how he wants it.
Sadly, that stuff will probably outlast us all.
I just know, like, my composite deck, it's really slippery when it's slick, and I just think that's going to be very, very slippery. That's just me. Alyssa, do you have anything else to add?
What were we saying?
I think the only note that I had is obviously that cedar right by the stairs, and the ribbon's gonna have to go just because of the excavation required, right?
I certainly can't guarantee that it will stay.
Yeah, it's just very close, so I just wanted to confirm. Okay, thank you.
You might have to replant that cedar, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Or plant a cedar.
Plant a cedar. Plant everything to replace everything that needs to be replaced.
Correct.
All right, good?
Good.
All right. That was, all right. Pat, we're gonna start with you.
I think Jen has gone through everything. I just want to say to Tom, I saw you switch very quickly the picture of the launch pad when it showed up on the screen, because it looks like a broken down dock. You know what I'm talking about. You were showing the revetment, Tom, and you quickly flipped away the launch pad.
the old,
Jen has
the dock,
covered everything.
The
the dock
dock,
that's not supposed to be there?
the dock that's not supposed to be
Well,
there.
yeah, it looked like it had been washed up on the shore, on the revetment, but anyway,
Yeah.
Jen has covered everything. Thanks. No questions, Mr. Chair.
All right. Peter,
Yes, I have questions for Tom on the seawall construction plot plan, proposed section AA, where the pilings and the timber deadmen. On the top of that, section A has a note, galvanized steel hardware and fasteners. And if the hardware and fasteners are galvanized and they are small, they will rust out in 5 years. So it doesn't show the size holding everything together. If it's like a 1-inch galvanized steel, that's okay. But if it's smaller than that, probably it should be stainless steel.
Stainless, yeah.
Okay. No further questions.
Yeah, that's right. I can talk with Jeff about exactly which one should be which material.
I'm gonna think about. Steve,
I wanted to get back to the exposing rocks or not exposing rocks and see what staff thought. That actually intrigued me. I think I'd rather have the rocks exposed. But I was just curious what Jen's or your thoughts might be on that.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, the proposal was to do the trench behind, drop the stones in, which would be kind of an easy less, I think, than trying to excavate them out. Just kind of pull them in, right, Tom?
Yeah.
And then cover them. Like I said, I was just almost teasing Tom with his creative argument versus mine about coverage and not coverage. I'm really not really too concerned with that. I don't think burying the stones is a bad idea. But if they wanted to keep them exposed somehow and excavate them out, store them off site, and then create some sort of, I don't know, what did you say, stepping area along the top of the wall, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't really, it was just an idea when talking about that, but frankly, the easiest way is just to do it as you go and bury them and move this sand from the next excavation onto it rather than storing and moving things back and forth. And part of it is just so you don't have to, have too much truck traffic going in and out, out with loads of stone and back in with loads of sand or soil. But it could create a rock garden or, something along the back edge of the seawall also, if some of them were left exposed to step on and to walk on there. A little safer than walking along the top of the bulkhead itself.
Okay, thanks. So we don't care which way he does that as we are reviewing this plan. I thought they would just pull them back, and then when they pushed them back in, they wouldn't put some dirt underneath them before they pushed them back in, or stone or some other thing. But anyway, whichever ways, I'm comfortable either way. That's all,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Okay. So Tom, you think that 8 to 10 foot trench is deep enough to pull the rocks back and not interfere with driving the sheet pile?
Yeah, the piles will be driven. You've probably seen them on, it's on the arm of but this size of length of piling just on the arm of a mini excavator. It's a vibratory hammer, and frankly, the smaller the excavation, the better, because then that means that the excavator can get closer to where the pile is going. So, it's in everybody's best interest to make that, as small as possible. Frankly, Luce thinks that it can do just, I have 8 to 10 feet. He thought all he needed was 5 feet, but if you start at the backside of where the rocks are now, and then another 5 feet, then you're probably close to 8 or 10 feet. But you can't make it too big because it has to keep the excavator in there to drive the piling. So it will be, as long as he gets all the rocks out, I think the piling will drive in easily through the sandy bottom.
So it'll basically be using the new rock placement as a platform for the mini excavator.
He'd have to, I'm frankly not sure if you could put some in kind of level, a little deeper and drive over them. But it would also be gotten obviously out of where the piling is going. I think he has a better idea of exactly, he's talked to contractors about it, has a better idea of exactly how it will be done. But the intent is to drive in alongside of it and not head straight at it. So
Gotcha.
it'd be.
Okay. So one of our conditions would be to meet with the contractor prior to.
Yeah, it's a good condition.
Yeah. Okay. And I just wanted to make a note on I heard what you said about the decking. I have a property that I take care of that's has a similar situation to what you have drawn. And we're considering putting the flow through decking on that portion because where we're located, it's the tidal action just drives that base up and down. And of course yours is in a well, if you will. So maybe it'll be a little more protected, but I don't know. I would just throw that at the client that maybe, something like a flow through type surface on the platform, not the stairway, but.
Well, it is, if you notice, and Jeff said there is, I don't know if they get added, just before installation, but there is some of this composite deck board with holes in it.
Okay.
And so it is to drain through, and so it come up and down. So it won't, you think it won't, it'll drain better than just straight solid decking.
Right.
And not be as slippery.
To follow up on that, Jamie, the concern I have is the pressure treated wood underneath the composite in that tidal area. Because you have PT on the plan, Tom.
Yes.
So that would be a concern of mine to have that pressure treated wood in the marine environment.
Okay.
You don't want pressure treated, or you don't think it's adequate?
I don't want pressure treated in a tidal area. I mean, I don't mind if it's on like the dock underneath. It's not subject to tidal action, but Tom did say that this area was subject to tidal action, so that would be a concern of mine.
So you could use non-CCA, correct?
Yeah.
It's what? Just not CCA?
No pressure treated.
Right.
No pressure treated at all, but that's. It isn't some kind of, no, the CCA is bad. Wasn't there some pressure treating that's okay?
Actually, I just read something on MACC's forum today, and one of the moderators said all pressure treated is poison to the marine environment.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what we can. I mean, I don't know if we can get. You might know, Jamie. I don't know if you can get that. What's the woods Purple Heart or something that they use for pilings?
Yeah,
as boards.
I mean, correct. I mean, you're building docks and piers all over the place, so there's a material. Have you picked out a contractor yet?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. I mean, I get some of their input. I mean, but we would put on there that there'd be no, non-CCA requirement.
Yeah, like no chemically treated wood or something like that.
Yeah, we can find something that can work as a stringers. Mhm.
Not just the stringers, the joists underneath too. On that platform. Jeff has it spec'd out as PT.
Yeah, so he's gonna have to look for the proper alternative.
Yeah.
What are you saying? The stringers you're talking about?
No. On the
The
bottom of
stringers
the
in the
platform,
joists
the joist.
under that
Right.
platform.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, the joists and the stringers for the
Yeah.
stairs.
Right.
Just say not pressure treated, but we'll find what would work.
Yeah, that's fine.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin.
I'm not going to step into this. No comments, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Does not look like it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Bunker?
No, I don't think so. And I don't know if there's things you can just condition, like just no pressure treated wood, or if I don't know.
Yeah, I'll make some calls and if you check some places and we'll see what the best alternative is.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, folks, what are you thinking? Anybody?
I'd make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement if staff is comfortable with the modifications required in the plan.
Harris, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. And as Tom, you're aware we're gonna have that requirement in the non-CCA.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
okay. All right, if there's nothing further. All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Night.
See you in a couple of weeks or whenever.
Night, Tom.
Okay. Good night.
Have a nice 4th.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
All right.
Who's up next?
Next up, Peter and Karen Hargraves, 31 Southview Way, nominee trust, 31 Southview Way, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a dock. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just promoted Mike Berselli. Yes, Mike Berselli up to present his project. Hi,
Excellent.
Mike.
Hello.
Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
And here we go. I represent the applicant, Peter and Karen Hargraves, who have a property at 31 Southview Way. It has water frontage on Flax Pond, which is a freshwater pond. The property is developed as a residential lot with driveway, house, deck, landscaping, and other common appurtenances. There is a footpath that meanders through the woodland just to gain access to the pond by foot. The wetland resources of note in this case, because of Flax Pond, are land under a water body, and then there's an inland bank, which is defined as the annual high water along the pond. The proposal is to construct a light-duty private recreational dock, very similar to recent applications you've seen, most notably through my office for George Patello, which is on the same pond across the pond, and recently an application for the direct abutter, the Grassies, is was also reviewed and approved. There are a couple others that I've presented to you in the past as well. This is very similar. The Hargraves want to make use of the waterfront for kayaks and canoes and recreational fishing and swimming for them as well as their extended family, including grandchildren. So we did a survey of the waterfront to determine water depths. They're published on the plan, and the depths are shown in parentheses, a reference to the pond level. There's more than adequate water depth. In fact, it's 6 feet at the end because they want to make sure that no one gets hurt jumping off or diving off the float. And on the most landward end is 3 foot below the flotation minimum. The land slopes. You can look at the topography. It slopes down rather abruptly. We picked a spot that made most sense on the lot, given the topography and the trees that are in this area. There's one dead oak that's sort of at an odd angle. That's the only tree that would have to be removed. We surveyed all the nearby trees and they're shown on here. So there's like one oak and 1 or 2 limbs that would need to be pruned just to make way for this platform to bridge over that slope to the pond itself. In profile view, that section here, that bridge I just referred to that allows you to traverse the slope is right here. It's the only fixed portion. Then there's a ramp and some floats supported by, proposed to be supported by 4-inch galvanized steel pipes. The overall length meets your freshwater dock standards from the water, high water line or annual high water line on the shore to the outermost end is 54 feet. We put a float out there when we staked this, if anyone noticed the limits of where that would be. The end or L of this float measures 8 by 12.5, which is just at the maximum 100 square feet you allow. And the rest of this is, there's 2 more float sections. The position of it is such that it's almost centered on the lot. It's set 35 feet from a projection of this lot line, and it's 43 feet from a projection of this lot line. The path that meanders through and goes this direction would have to be rerouted at this point. And I've walked through here. You can almost walk through here. I mean, there's no trees that would meander through the trees. There's some very small sapling understory that could be pruned back, and you could easily get a footpath, 4-foot wide footpath to this. And then this section is proposed to be replanted back with arrowwood viburnum so that there's a single path. They do want to have the ability to have seasonal water and electric at the dock as well. They intend to leave this in year round, so they wanted to have a bubbler system. So it wouldn't have to be hauled in and out because it would be very challenging to haul this. And it'd be a lot of work, frankly, to have to haul it. I think that sums up my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Jen.
Mike, have you gotten your MESA comments yet?
I have not. And they're usually pretty good about it, so we've inquired twice and they've been non-responsive. But we've seen MESA comments on the other docks, including Brassi's, and I don't think they've ever had any real issues.
They didn't have any issues on the neighboring property.
Right.
Let me think about this for a second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Melissa, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
I have no other comments. Thank you.
Okay. We'll do commissioner comments and we'll come back. Steve, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As said, I think I've seen this plan before and I approved it. I have no problem with the plan, no question.
All right, and I agree about the comments. I mean, we've had, what, 3 that I can think of off the top of my head where there haven't been any issues. Kevin?
No, no comments, Mr. Chairman. It seems a tried and true method.
Kind of straightforward. Pat?
I appreciated the location of the access path. It was clear what you were doing, avoiding running into trees and also dealing with a steep incline from the pond. So well done.
Thank you. We're going to end on a high note, Pat.
It's that last impression.
I know she said she was going to deny everything tonight. I don't know what she was
Boom,
thinking.
boom. Get the gavel. Oh.
Peter?
Practice makes perfect. Mike, you have several docks in a row. No comments.
All right, Jen, we stalled all we could.
Well, I usually will continue a hearing to have Misa's comments. The only reason I will let this one go is just because we just did the neighboring property last year.
Right.
Right.
So I can't see how Misa's comments would be any different.
Agreed. All right. Do we have anything in the public chat function?
There's nothing in the public chat.
All righty. Mike, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Smart man. All right. What are you thinking, folks?
I'd make a motion to take this project under advisement.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. If there's nothing further. All right. So again, motion and a second to close the hearing. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Parasite.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
And I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Borselli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Am I correct in understanding that Pat and Peter are done after tonight?
Pat and Peter.
Yes.
Well, thank you for keeping me on my toes these past several years. And
Pat still, yep, nope, she's got to finish up her project, so she'll be voting.
okay, well then.
I'll be back just for nominal stuff.
All right. Well,
Gonna
I think
hang over.
I think I'm clear of all of that. But
I think you are too.
all right.
Don't hold your breath.
Thank you both for your service to the town. And everyone have a good evening.
You as well. Thanks for everything you've done,
Mike,
Mike.
have a good fourth.
Have a nice 4th, Mike.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Next up, Catherine F., Peter W., and Alexander O. Abbott, 207 Metoxet Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove a patio, construct a deck and screen porch, install dry wells, and install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Mark Dibb, Cape and Islands, to present the project. Did I present the right person? Yep. Yeah, it's Cape and Islands.
Yes.
Mr. Dibb, you're up, sir.
Hi, good evening again. Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering on behalf of the Abbotts for 207 Metoxic Road in Mashpee. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
For the record, you're in Falmouth, sir.
Sorry.
Well, you may be physically in Mashpee, but
Took the wrong left.
yeah.
that's all right. We're not insulted. You're denied.
I'll blame it on Raul for going on vacation.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. In Falmouth, 207 Metoxic Road. Zoom in a little bit here. So the project consists of an existing single-family home. Metoxic Road is to the east, Wacoit Bay to the west. Resource areas on the site. We have a salt marsh along the water body with a coastal bank. Zoom in a little bit more to where we need to be. Then the associated buffers, we have a 25-foot V zone. We have a 50-foot A zone from the bank, as well as another 50-foot B zone. And the proposal tonight is just to remove an existing brick patio in this area, this rectangle, to be replaced with a proposed deck across the back, proposed stairs off the deck, as well as a proposed screen porch. The mitigation required, we have no additional impervious area in Zone A. We do have a net change in Zone B of 259 square feet, requiring a mitigation of 518 square feet, of which we are proposing 518 square feet towards in some open areas near the top of the coastal bank in this area and in this area. Everything proposed is no closer than some of the existing structure. The existing patios at 70 feet. The proposed steps associated with the deck are at 71 feet. We do also have a dry well proposed for this portion of the addition. That essentially is my presentation, and open up to the board for questions.
Thank you, sir. You can stop sharing, Mark,
Oh, sorry.
please. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think the only concern Alyssa had when she went onto the site is the smaller area. Mitigation Mark is in a very, very, it's under a canopy, so it's really shaded. So we're going to have to get some really, shade tolerant species in there, or they may need to be, relocated.
Okay, we can do that. Would you like the plan change to reflect that, or can that be something worked out at time of construction?
And so when you are out on site, do you think there's another appropriate place for them, or is that the best place for them?
Let me just open up my plan here.
It was just an observation, Mark, that was just really shaded. And sometimes you guys don't see that if you're out there in the winter doing the survey and all the site work and everything. So,
I mean, there is an area with some benches. So maybe a portion of it could be put on either side of the seating to look over the edge. Or, I mean, the mitigation could be planted there, and if it fails, it will just need to be relocated.
Okay, I mean, we would be fine with that, and we can make sure the appropriate species are in for that area.
yeah, we can condition it for you, Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Alyssa, have anything to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Was the new septic previously approved? Or is that part of this?
It is not part of this, so it would have been previously approved.
Was that RDA from back in March, Jen?
Sometime earlier this year.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. I figured, but wanted to ask. All right. Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Pat,
No questions, thank you.
Peter,
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
okay. Steve.
No questions, thank you.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
Only if the applicant, the commission has anything to ask the applicant.
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
Sir, if you'd like to make a statement to the board, can you please use the raise hand function and I can promote you up? If not, I think the board, oh, he does. I'm promoting you up to a panelist, Mr. Abbott. It should be something out there.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say thanks. Sounds like it is pretty straightforward and appreciate the fact that we're going to run this through because we are happy to comply with whatever you need us to do.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Thanks.
All right. What are you thinking, folks?
I'd like to close this hearing and take it under advisement, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Walter, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. If there's nothing further. All right. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Dibb.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
realize it's late in the meeting to be asking this, but with two members leaving, Pat, you're going to stay on for some time just to support us through these quorums, I would hope.
It's sort of a procedural matter, but I was asked if I wanted to re-up and take another 3-year term, and I declined. But until such time as my position is filled by somebody else, I can continue to act. But we're going to keep it at a minimum, just when I'm necessary.
I thought I heard you say that, but I just wanted to clarify it.
Sure, thanks. I'm glad you did, because I think it might be confusing to people who think I'm gone.
But not really.
Steve, to clarify that some more, there was an appointment made to fill my appointment, so I cannot vote after this month.
Exactly, yeah.
Cutting it clean,
I'll
man.
only be showing up very, very briefly for a couple of times.
Same here. Tough crowd. All right. No, seriously, is that clear, Steve? How that will work?
It is clear. I appreciate that.
And again, you know, we've been very fortunate with you know, no issues with quorum or anything. Commissioner attendance has been fantastic. So and that's thanks to all you guys. So that helps us avoid problems with quorums, which is always a good thing. All right, moving on, the last one. Marie Russell, Marine Biological Laboratory, 100 Water Street, Woods Hole, Mass, for permission to install a concrete stem wall behind an existing seawall. Then,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Ryan McCoy up of Collins Engineering and Marie Russell with the Marine Biological Lab. Ryan will present this continued project. We had a couple of items that we wanted to see on the last time, and he feels he's addressed those.
excellent. We'll see, won't we?
Hi, everyone. Again, Ryan McCoy with Collins Engineers, representing the applicant. If it's all right with everyone, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're down on 100 Water Street's project site. Woods Hole Waterfront Park is the project area. Just running through the scope of work again.
Okay, we don't have your screen yet.
It's not showing up yet?
Just so you know.
No.
Says I'm sharing. Let me disconnect from one of the.
There you are.
There we go. All right. So again, down on Water Street, Woods Hole Waterfront Park. We're looking to address some of the deficiencies that we found with the seawall, mainly to address instability and sinkholes that have developed along the asphalt path that runs along the back of the wall. Obviously, it is a public park, so safety issues, but mainly to address the saltwater intake pipes that are on the western part of the site that run underneath the pier that extends there. And then supports the laboratories on the facility. So our scope of work is we're looking to excavate behind the walls, open up the area behind, and then construct a concrete stem wall behind to reinforce that stone masonry wall and cut off so we don't have the sinkholes developing in the land side after we restore it. What the commission had asked before was some additional details showing the extent of the estimated excavation area. I had mentioned in the last time we'd met that we're planning to phase the work just as funds are available. So phase 1 is towards the west end of the site. I will address the main areas that are unstable at this point and the intake lines. And then phase 2 would be the eastern end of the site, just to kind of button up and make sure the whole site is sealed up. So site plan we've shown here again shows the phasing, and then the following sheet details some of the dewatering approach that we've talked to the contractor about and the owner has agreed. So this plan shows the estimated the area that we closed off. Because we're doing it in phases, we'll be able to keep part of the park open at all times. So obviously the western end is phase 1. We'll close off the western end of the site, and then same thing with phase 2. We'll close off the eastern end of the site and leave the west end open. Proposed dewatering activities include just a floating dock, which phase 1 will be bottom anchored adjacent to the timber pier that's on the west end of the site. And we'll have a dewatering silt sack on top of the floating dock, and then a hose with a pump run back to land side. When we do phase 2, same thing as a pier on the east end of the site. So we'll use that same operation with the floating dock, the dewatering sack, and then the pump on the backland. So believe we've addressed the commission's concerns, but happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan. Jen?
I don't think staff has anything to add unless Alyssa wants to add something. I don't have any questions.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. The first question, do we have a DEP number?
We do. We should have one.
Ryan, one thing, you never tracked down that chapter 91?
No. We went through, so DEP sent us a list of pretty much every chapter 91 license they have. They have in their records right now. They have it for the seawall that's even farther east of the site. So the original site was really our phase 1, phase 2, but it's east end. We have other applications that reference an existing licensed seawall, but haven't found that original license yet. So we're still trying to dig through that and try and figure out what we've got, but.
And I think you did the best you could. Thank you for trying.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have a DEP number?
Yes.
All right. Pat,
Thank you for putting in the dewatering plan. And I have no questions. Thank you.
Peter,
Also, thank you for putting in the dewatering plan. I understand that if you don't get water in the hole, maybe you won't use it.
It'll be there and ready.
Steve,
I agree with the previous two commenters, and I have no other question.
Kevin,
I'll make it unanimous, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman. I almost called you Mr. Comment.
Yeah, they called a lot of things lately. All right, if there's nothing further, in a motion.
I move that we close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Walsh, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. There's nothing further. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
All right. It was unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good 4th.
Night.
Good night.
All right. Did we officially continue this enforcement order, or do I have to read it? I think I have to read it. Let me read it, just for the record. Continued hearings under an enforcement order. Louis Maglio Jr. and Betty Maglio, 57 Sherwood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted construction of a shed, platform, and staircase within conservation jurisdiction. Done.
I believe they're requesting to continue the matter until July 20th.
Okay, we need to vote that now.
Yes.
I move that we
Yeah.
I move that we continue this enforcement order hearing until July 21st as requested.
Walsh, second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this until 7:20. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 7:20. All right. Next up, vote order of conditions. First up, Gregory P. Hartel, 115 Dale Drive, Falmouth, Mass. Jen?
1 second, Mr. Chairman. Let me get caught up here.
Yep.
Okay, this was the improvements to the shared road and shared roadway and driveway. Let's move this over here. They're putting a berm, they're paving, they're putting drainage. And as much as sometimes I don't love paving, and this site, it has to work. I mean, there's so much runoff on this site. So special conditions, you know, they have to do a maintenance program on who is going to be responsible for the maintenance of the stormwater system. Finding, because there was a finding in the previous order that they had overcome the presumptions of the coastal bank. And I have sign of, oh, we need the signature of 107 Dale Drive. So before start, we'll need his signature. That's all I have unless Alyssa can remember anything else.
The only other thing I had was just to maintain the catch basins, but that's just part of the overall system.
Maintenance program, yeah. Perfect.
The only note I had was on the monitoring. So. All right. Anybody have anything they want to see in there? All right. What are you thinking?
I move we issue an order as discussed. Harris.
Walsh, second.
All right. If there's nothing further. All right. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Benton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Robert Sperry, RSC Realty Trust, 134 Antler Shore Drive, East Falmouth, Mass.
This is the shed. 134 shed, no, 144 antler. Shed mitigation and a slight reconstruction, I think, of the steps on the deck.
Yeah, they moved
Is
the shed up.
relocated
Yeah,
into-
and they moved the shed up in line with the house.
And added steps on the right side.
Yep.
Access.
Deck
Anybody
steps.
have anything they'd like to see in there?
Jen had a comment about the number of shrubs.
Yep, we've already worked with Mr. Sperry on that one.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Anything else? All right. Take a motion.
Harris, I move we issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Walsh, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. There's nothing further. All right. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Benton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Sarah Chirano Flores, Nutter, McLennan and Fish, LLP, 24 Willis Lane, Falmouth, Mass.
That is the High Marsh, the construction of the High Marsh. It's not the cobble High Marsh anymore because we've removed the cobble, but the construction of the High Marsh to allow for the marsh to be able to migrate landward by giving it kind of a median over the years to establish so that marsh can migrate landward.
That's the hope.
That is the hope. I mean, I think staff's biggest concern was the amount of cobble that was in there. That has been removed.
Right.
We want a condition in there, though, that any of those trees that they raise, R-A-I-S-E, if they die, they need to be replaced.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, we're willing to try anything once. So, I mean, we're not going to know for years if this works, but if it does, you know, great.
Kind of a cool experiment.
Mm-hmm. And I understand what they're trying to do. more clearly after meeting with everyone on site and talking with everyone. So I have, once that cobble was removed, I have less angst over it. So. So Jamie, you want tree replacement, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that's going to work because, like you said, it's going to be a while before you know whether they survive or not. But this project's also going to go on for years. So,
correct.
I mean,
We may see more like it.
Yeah, yeah. If
Okay.
those trees are going to make it or not. And I'm talking about, from the transplant more so than just in general.
Yeah. And then for conditions, I think there should be yearly monitoring on it as well. Just so we're aware of, what's going on out there.
Well, plus, so we know what succeeded, right?
Yep.
You try these different
Also,
things.
I was talking to Seth and he would be agreeable to you have to have, what did I write? My notes, hang on, I have them. In the BBW, 25. Replace the buck if it's not transplantable. And like 80% coverage by year 3 with all the plant material.
Fair enough.
That has to be achieved.
We like goals.
You know, 80 to 85%. Survivability within 3 years. And then the same, we're going to do a pre-construction with them. Yep. Okay. Anything else the board would like to see?
Hopefully they'll report back to us. Could we require that? 5 years when none of us will be here.
No, they'll submit yearly report, like yearly written reports, Steve. But if you're really that interested and would like them to kind of touch base with us every year and give us like a brief, little presentation to what the project looks like, I don't think that's a bad idea.
I would think that this is going to happen. I mean, this is, I think, innovative, and there are other areas in our community that could benefit from this kind of work, I think.
Okay, well then I'll put a written and presentation to the commission on an annual basis on the real brief on the status and health of the project. How about that?
I think that'd be helpful.
That would be great.
Does that mean when you're up, you're going to re-up so you can keep hearing these?
I heard commitment in there.
Yeah, I did too. Since we're losing 2 already, Steve, but now you just kind of said you're going to be in here for the long term.
Yeah, I know 5 or 6 kind of plants already, so I figure in a couple more years.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Take a motion if anybody's interested.
I move that we close this hearing and, I move that we issue an order of condition as discussed.
Walsh, second.
I don't know where my agenda is anymore.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. If there's nothing further. All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin.
Propane, aye.
Pat.
Harris, aye.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Andrew Richard Chused and Samantha Barry Chused, 55 Racing Beach Avenue, Falmouth, Mass.
This is, what did I just do? Tried to put it away already. This was Mike Borselli and Elaine Johnson's plan. I think there was patio construction in the back. Which makes me laugh because when we first saw this project, they removed the deck and they removed the deck or patio. Stone terrace. They removed that deck in almost that exact location so they could build the front deck. Then they sold the property and the person wants the back.
That is funny.
So they're kind of like a landing off the porch, a rinse station and a stone terrace in the back. And then Elaine revised her planting plan to kind of buffer that back wetland a little bit more and kind of enhance that dune area. And they are going to put a split rail fence along the mitigation.
No lattice screening.
Oh, no lattice screening. Okay. Okay.
Anything else? All right. What are you thinking?
Harris, I move we issue an order as discussed.
Walsh, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If there's nothing further. All right. Matthews, aye. Kevin.
Brian, I.
Pat.
Harris, aye.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. And before we go to the next step, two things. Reminder, there's no meeting next week. So happy 4th of July to everyone. And much appreciation to Pat and Peter. Pat, I know you're going to come back and haunt us. I mean, help us. But seriously,
Can't get rid of me.
Your dedication, it's been great. And I'm glad you guys were here. Maybe you'll get bored at home and want to come back and take it with open arms. Thank you both.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Jamie, on the
know
next agenda, we do have to talk about who's going to take over Peter's CPC commitment.
Yeah, well, I was going to call you separately, but since you brought it up, I was going to ask you to put on the July 13th under other business that we have to appoint a CPC rep. And for formality, if nothing else, we should hold an election. Yeah. So if we could put some other business in there.
Yep, I'm writing an email right now.
I don't think I had. Yeah, that's what I have.
Steve, you're already on the CPC, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Representing what? Representing Falmouth Housing Trust?
Falmouth Housing Authority. That
Authority.
they're
I'm
fighting-
sorry. I always get the trust authority, the corp. I get them all confused. I apologize.
It's a great difference.
I know. I don't mean to get you guys all confused. I do. Do you know if there's anybody on the authority that wants to be on CPC and you can switch roles, or no? Or do you want to stay at this authority rep?
Let me get back to you.
Okay.
All right, so since it's open for discussion, Betsy has expressed interest in being the rep to CPC.
Oh,
But
perfect.
she didn't want me to throw it out there yet, because if anybody else was interested, she didn't want to sideline anybody else, but
Well, Steve's already on it, so it doesn't matter.
so again, she's expressed an interest. So, and again, if anybody else is thinking about it, let's talk about it on the 13th. And because we'd like to have somebody that has an interest in it. But I think we'll be covered.
I do too. All right, cool.
All right. Only one thing left, folks.
Peter, it's on you.
I make a motion to enter the meeting.
Second, Pat.
Right.
Kim,
Bye, Peter. Thank you for all your hard work. Pat, thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. You'll be missed.
Yeah, right.
I don't know about that.
I'm sure you'll tune in every week.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll be
She'll
in the
send
chat
scathing
room.
emails about
I'm raising my
how
hand in
we
the chat
screwed up.
room.
Doing site visits with Betsy just for fun.
Right.
Yeah. My wife asked if I could join another committee, but hey. All right. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Harris, aye.
Walsh, aye.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Happy